Well, Samson, of course, I don't expect the president to say that I have failed in the fight against corruption, given that corruption consistently has been the biggest campaign issue within in elections within this our fourth republic, whether from Kufuor's time to Atta Mills' time, Mohammed's time, to Nana Akufo-Addo's time. I think all the political parties have always flagged the issues of corruption, and in every election, the opposition would flag the high levels of corruption in the government, and the government of the day will be defending itself about how it has been fighting corruption. In the case of the President Akufo-Addo government, I think that it is important to rely on independent surveys, independent publications, rather than what the NDC would say or what the president himself will say. I think Mary alluded to quite a number of them. The Corruption Perception Index, and the record now is that the worst performance under the Mahama regime remains the best performance in President Akufo-Addo's time, which is 43, a score of 43 over 100. And that was the lowest during the period of President Mahama. We may say that, well, there could be some questions about the CPI. And so we come home on the continent, and then we can look at what Afrobarometer data is saying. And Afrobarometer data has consistently also affirmed what the CPI is saying in terms of the people's views about the levels of corruption. In 2016, for example, when Afrobarometer did the publication, 2017, the first year of the government, it was said that 6 out of 10 were saying that, in terms of corruption, the government is doing fairly well or well. And only at that time, just about 1 in 10 would say that the government was not doing well. Down to 2022, and the trend has changed. 85%, and that's almost 9 out of 10 are saying that the government is doing very badly when it comes to corruption. It doesn't end there. They proceed to look at what are the institutions that you see as the most corrupt. They put the Ghana Police Service on number 1, and quite significantly, the Office of the President as number 2 in terms of the institutions that they perceive to be corrupt. And then you come to Parliament. Honorable Husseini's former workplace. And then judges and magistrates follow next. And so you look at it, and apart from the police, all the 3 arms of government are perceived by the people to be very corrupt or doing badly when it comes to corruption. But for me, what is significant is that take out the police and then look at only the 3 arms of government, and the people of Ghana are saying that the number 1 place is the Office of the Presidency. And for me, that is quite bad enough. But my point is, this whole thing about clearing agent, why did we get to that point? Because I would assume that if you are a leader and you say you want to fight corruption, the fighting against corruption is not the job of the president. Really. Why is the police there? IOCO is there. Shraj is there. The NIB is there. All the investigative bodies are there. So at what point did we come to that point where whether the fight against corruption is succeeding or not is the president? And I think that the president, by his conduct, by his pronouncements, and of course by his actions, obvious and those that people know, realized that or came to the point where people feel, well, even if the president is not involved, or the president is the police that is investigating, or the attorney general, or IOCO, or whatever, there is some implications when it comes to the president's attitude and his conduct. So, for example, you look at SML, the recent SML case. You commission an audit. The audit comes, and clearly, there are a series of procurement infractions. The audit says performance was even not satisfactory. Partial fulfillment of this, partial fulfillment of that, and so on and so forth. I think that the president should be questioning But who was there who was awarding these contracts without PPA approval for 6 times? And of course, if it involved the Ministry of Finance...
Without PPA approval for 3 times or 6?
No, you know, if you look at it... no, you check the report. You check the report.
No, I remember 3 occasions.
Yes.
And on all these 3 occasions,
yes,
they were actually under the name SME.
Yes.
Then they went and changed their name to SML.
Yes.
And then came and got a subcontract.
Okay.
From that subcontract, then later, they got the main contracts and got PPA to ratify the contracts that PPA had decided not to approve.
Yes, but well, I'll have to look at it again. But I believe, you know, there are a list of this without PPA approval, that without PPA approval, and when counted, it's about 6.
Okay.
But even if it is 3, you know, the question would be, as a leader who criticized the previous administration about sole sourcing, for example, and procurement deals, and that corruption was happening so much within the procurement arena. And what you would do is to ensure that this whole practice of sole sourcing or single sourcing thing would be a thing of the past.
Yeah, they actually say it was like a crime.
Exactly. And here we are talking about the same methodology or method being used to award contracts, and even in that case, no PPA approvals. But then it goes on and on and on and on. And at the end of the day, the president says, well, the upstream petroleum and minerals, whatever, that one has not started, so it should, whatever. And the contract should be renegotiated, you know, without anything about, but who were those who committed these infractions? If you are acting on my behalf, I'm the leader of the country, and I'll put you there to act on my behalf. And whatever you do, there are ramifications and implications on my image, my reputation, and so on and so forth. I would think that the president will be concerned about that. But remember how Graphic reported that president's release and directives. It said PPA cleared to continue with contracts. This is our leading newspaper in this country. The question is, who cleared PPA? It's the president. Because how did Graphic read the president's release and order and directives and so on? He says, he didn't only add president clears, but it said SML cleared to continue with contract. And obviously, who did the clearance? It will be the president. Now, you take the point about Cecilia Dapa that Mary was talking about. The president, in accepting the resignation, says what? I believe, like you, that at the end of the day, your integrity, you know, while in office, will be established. And this was prior to when investigations were going to start. And something you and I know that in this country, almost everything is vested in the president. All the powers are with the president. So if you are the one to investigate this matter, it takes a lot. It will take a lot of courage for you to.
Were you pointing at me if I were the one? If I'm the one, I will listen to the president.
Well,
I'll do my job.
But I'm saying that it will take a lot of courage.
If I am a judge,
for you to do that,
I won't listen to what the president says. I'll do my judicial duty.
You know.
Yeah.
And so, if the president says that, I believe that at the end of the day, just like you believe, that your integrity will be established once in office.
Unfortunately, I may not be able to hold any of these offices because they will sack me the next day. That
becomes problematic, and that is an affirmation.
Okay.
There is a whole hula baloo about Akunta mining in a forest reserve, you know, in this country. Mr. President, you are not the Forestry Commission. You are not the Minerals Commission. You are not Environmental Protection Agency. Why are you the one to come out and tell the public that Akunta mining is not mining anywhere in this country? So I think that the president also puts himself in situations where this whole thing about clearing agents becomes something that is affirmed.
Right.
Because if a mining company is accused of mining in a forest reserve as a president, what's your business in being the one to come and say that, no, that is not happening? And when he said that this is 2023, that all 294 forest reserves have been put under guard to ensure that they are protected. Today, just a year on, these are the same forest reserves, including globally significant biodiversity areas that have been given out for mining. How do we take the president's word for it? And how do we not believe that it is the president who does this clearing when his appointees are found wanting or go contrary to...
So it doesn't matter that he says that fighting corruption has been the cornerstone of his administration. It's not actually true. And when he says that he's funded the anti-corruption organizations, entities, of course, minus OSP. better than any other government. That's a fact.
No, it's not a fact. In fact, we did a fact checking on that.
Right.
And you see, it's only in nominal figures. So today, Shraj, if under President Kufuor, Shraj was given, let's say, 4 million Ghana cedis, and now Shraj is giving 20 million Ghana cedis. In nominal, you just look at the figures, you say, oh, somebody gave 4, I have given 20. But it's more about what could the 4 do then and what can your 5, your 20 do now? We did those, analysis, and the only institution that we could say, yes, this government has indeed funded more than any other institution was the Auditor General's office. And then we also know about what happened with Domelevo and so on and so forth. So if you fund to do the work, and then you won't allow the people to do the work, what is the essence of the funding? Of course, I would always give credit to President Akufo-Addo for and the government, his government, for the bold decision to get some of our laws in place.
Okay.
RTI, a lot of the work that we are doing on investigations and the revelations that are coming out, even though they come out and sometimes we are disappointed in the way, the government handles it. When we require that swift measures are taken and they are not taken and sanctions are imposed and they are not, and eventually it's almost that you've done the work for nothing. But it's still important because when Akufo-Addo leaves, RTI law would continue to be there for us to do the work that we are doing, for citizens to assert their right to access to information. Of course, it was under him as Attorney General that criminal libel law was repealed. I believe that even if it was Kufuor's vision, it would have taken an Attorney General to support that vision to come into fruition. The OSP, the Office of the Special Prosecutor, the law setting it up, it was under him. When he leaves, I'm sure it's still...
But you in the media are not happy that even though criminal libel was repealed under his regime, in his regime as president, it's been actively used by the security agencies.
Of course.
All right. So let me get Inus Afuseni on here.